everyone, it's me, Cadilac, with Cadillac Law, aka OG Cadillac, aka Mother of the Decade, coming back to you with another video about Sarah Boone. If you haven't been watching or keeping up, Sarah Boone is a woman from Florida who zipped her boyfriend into a suitcase and left him there overnight so that he could suffocate to death. She also took videos of him while he was begging her to let him out of the suitcase, saying he couldn't breathe, and she laughed at him and said, haha, that's what you get. Okay, so there's your update. There's Sarah Boone in a nutshell. If you've been following on my channel, then we have gone through Sarah's epic attorney journey, her epic attorney journey. If you count when Sarah was her own attorney, as an attorney, she's on 10, but I don't, so technically she's on 9. Sarah is an interesting person who has some very serious mental health issues, probably suffers from alcoholism, which I'm assuming is related to the mental health issues, so on and so forth. Her trial begins on October 7th. And last week when I wrote my video, or I did the video, I thought there might be a chance that there'd be an extension. Not a snowball's chance in hell. This trial goes down October 7th, period, end of story. Estimated to be a 3-week trial. Sarah's lawyer is now saying that he is going to use battered wife syndrome and self-defense as his defense. What I see as the major hole in that is that Sarah said she left Jorge with 2 fingers worth of space so she thought he could get out. So if you are a battered spouse or, someone who is trying to take your abuser's life in a way to defend your own, leaving 2 finger hole for their breathing doesn't necessarily sound right. So there's a lot of gaps in information on Sarah's case, and that's why her trial is going to be so interesting. It will be incredibly interesting to learn the details. For instance, when did Jorge actually end up in a suitcase? We know by 11:15 p.m. he was in the suitcase. We know he was still in the suitcase at 12:30 p.m. And we know that because she made those videos and they're time-stamped. Or maybe they weren't time-stamped, but, data, how it is. So we know that by 11:15 he's in the suitcase. We know he lasted at least an hour and 15 minutes in the suitcase. Who knows how long it actually took before he passed? Who knows? He suffocated to death. And he told her he couldn't breathe. And she laughed at him.
Sarah.
You. It is going to be an uphill battle for her defense, okay? Not only do we have those damning videos, and I mean those are damning. I can't imagine a jury seeing those videos and not being like, put her in jail.
Sarah. Stupid.
I just can't. We also have her interview with the police. She does not do well in that interview. She says things like, I'm a straight A student. She says that she excels at everything. She really does not present herself well as a battered victim. So in the last pretrial hearing, which was last week, the defense argued to exclude the police interview. Their argument was that Sarah was kind of lured there without knowing that it was actually going to be an interview, and that she was then not read her rights. She did not realize that she would need a lawyer.
Sarah called the female detective about the phone. The female detective said, I'm pregnant, I'm not feeling well, I don't want to drive out there to give you your phone. Would you please come to the sheriff's department so that we can give you your phone? Sarah Boone got there and saw that there was a desk or a place there to retrieve the items, and she saw the male detective and said, is this where I go to get the phone? He said, no, we got it back here in this room. Come back here in this room and we'll get it.
It's actually a decent argument he makes, in particular when you hear about the things they said to get Sarah to come down to the police station. She didn't really realize that she was that level of a suspect and therefore would not have gone and gotten a lawyer. If you recall, in the police body cam footage, she says that she called her ex-husband first because she didn't know what to do. Presumably her ex-husband, who seems relatively logical, would have told her to get a lawyer if he knew that she was being interrogated. I don't know. We shall see on October 7th. I cannot wait. So I'm doing my Sarah Boone recaps on Wednesdays, which means on October 9th, I am going to go over the opening statements. I'm really looking forward to that. But today, I just wanted to go over this 58-page handwritten letter that Sarah wrote way back in June. It seems like an eternity ago. It really wasn't that long. I will say Sarah has very nice handwriting. There's no doubt in my mind. I could not consistently write for 58 pages this nicely. My hand would get so sore. Okay, so here's her cover sheet. Very nice. Here is... We're on the second page and it's sketch. Ongoing 5 years. Why can't I use my constitutional rights? Am I only one who cares about ongoing violations of? Have a bond. Have my medical records. So a lot of these questions, I am 100% sure her attorneys have answered. And now this is before she got her new attorney who acted out the trial with her. And it was only once the trial was acted out with her and she was on cross-examination that she realized, oh, I do need to listen to my attorneys. I can guarantee you her attorneys said you don't get a bond because they make one bond ruling one time. And by the way, you're charged with taking the life of another. So no bond. We're in Florida. No bond for that. So I am 100% confident that all of her lawyers said that. If they spoke to her and she asked that, they said that. Full stop. Okay? So here she is asking it again, as if she doesn't know the answer. Have all my medical records. Do y'all have all your medical records? No. Now, she did have a problem at this time because she was going to be representing herself. And she would need things like the witness list. She would need a download of her phone. She would need the digital downloads. And if you have been watching and following, you will recall not long after this letter, the judge had a hearing and they worked out a way that Sarah could get a laptop into the jailhouse so that she could work on her self-defense. She keeps going. I mean, we're talking a bullet of questions. Why won't my attorney give me an honest answer? I guarantee you her attorneys have given her honest answers. She just doesn't like them. I cannot tell you how many times people have walked out that very door because my honest answer, the application of the law to the facts, did not sit with how they wanted things to be. Okay? Handfuls of people have left. I've had people yell at me. I'm like, look, I don't write the laws, y'all. I just practice the application. If you want to yell at someone, call your senator. This is ridiculous. Don't yell at me. So I promise you, she has been getting honest answers from her attorneys. She just doesn't like them. She doesn't like the answer. That's the issue. I'm giggling because I run into it so often in my own practice and I see it so often. Just people don't like the law, and I get it. Sometimes the law is not in your favor. You don't like it. There are lots of laws I don't agree with, but it's still the law. And the only thing you can do about it is go talk to your leadership, your senators, your congresspeople. Not me. Yelling at me doesn't do anything. I can't change the law. I don't want to work for the government. I'm not going to be able to be in a position to change the law ever. I'd rather be a decedent than be working for the government. Okay. Why have I already been judged in the court of public opinion? How did that happen? This chick is wild, y'all. She is obsessed with the court of public opinion. And I gotta be honest, if you're gonna commit a crime, the court of public opinion is going to make a ruling long before you see that jury, okay? That is the way this works. That is human nature. That is the nature of the beast. You've been in jail for 4 years, lady. You zipped a dude in a suitcase, lady. You videoed it. Okay. She keeps going and going. And so I am sure, and I mean, when I talk about these things and I say I'm sure, I mean I'm sure. I'm talking 99.98% sure That judge was elated when she got these 2 new attorneys that just joined on that can't get out, that they knew coming in, they're going to trial, period, end of story. I bet that judge was elated. Why? Because 58 pages like this, all these questions stuff, it just means that she's going to be a horrific pro se. So if she had to represent herself, she would have been pretty much a nightmare. Okay, there's no doubt in my mind that there would have been a mistrial called at one point because of her and her behavior. So I am sure after receiving this 58-page letter, my case equals bizarre, equals unknown, equals difference, equals ignorance, equals misunderstood, equals unfair. This does not mean my case can't equal success in more than one way. Y'all, this lady, look, she puts a heart confused cat meme. This is what we were gonna see. And I'm not gonna lie, I was definitely looking forward to the entertainment value of her being her own lawyer, but I was very concerned that we would have to go through several trials because of mistrials. She's ranting in this section of the letter about her last lawyer who had been doing it for 40 years. And, you know, of course, Sarah's, I'm sure, arguing with her about why she should get a bond. And the lady's like, you can't get a bond. I've been doing this for 40 years. Those type of clients are a nightmare. And so I totally get why all these people withdrew. Look at this. I have not fired any attorneys appointed to my case. All caps like that. Like, someone like this comes into my office. Now, I do civil, I don't do defense, but someone like this comes into my office, I'm charging them what we call PETA charge, okay? That's a pain in the ass charge. That means you actually have to give me more money because you're a nightmare. That's Sarah Boone. Sarah Boone is a nightmare. Every single one of her public defenders that did work, or they weren't all public defenders, I'm sorry. A lot of them were appointed. They were private practice lawyers that were appointed because the public defender's office was conflicted out because Sarah and Jorge had so much domestic violence between them. They had gone through the PD, multiple attorneys in the PD's office. So these appointed private, yet then public attorneys have all applied for the maximum pay, which is $15,000. 100% of them. They want that 15. And I can tell you, it's because Sarah was so abusive and obnoxious. This reads like someone who calls your office several times a day. Don't do that, y'all. If you have an attorney, don't call their office several times a day. Every time you call, it costs you money. So don't do it. Write a list. Get it together. Call once a week. Call once a month, depending on your case. Don't be calling once a day. This is a once a day letter. This is the type of person who's calling once a day. And I could see where these lawyers would want out. I would want out. If my client filed some like this in their own record, I'm out. I'm on this other case. There's an attorney. I filed a suit. Attorney files a response and a countersuit to my suit, okay? Then his idiot client files this whole response in like 3-point font that nobody could hardly read. But now it's filed, so it is part of the case. And his client did a response that's like a general response. So which response is the valid one? There's all these questions. But now your client has written all this information. It's on record with the court. It's getting in if it needs to. That guy's lawyers withdrew immediately. The moment I received the letter through e-file, through my email, I said, oh, this guy did this. Within hours, the lawyers were withdrawing. You don't get to go behind my back and talk to the judge about your case. I've had clients try to do that. I withdrew. I'm not doing this. I am the one that talks to the judge. And we don't talk to the judge until we get to trial. And if you don't like what your lawyer has to say about the law, going to another lawyer ain't going to change the law. Call your senator. Call your congressperson. Go run for office yourself. But calling your lawyer is not going to change the law. Okay? The pretrial hearings, the several that I've seen leading up to October 7th, now that she has counsel, have really focused on excluding certain types of evidence, etc. It is much more what I would expect to see in a trial. And I imagine that it will be 3 weeks or less. I think the reason they gave the 3 weeks for the trial is because this case has been all over the news. So I do think that they think it'll take a little longer to find a jury that hasn't heard anything about this. That's probably true, especially because your jury pool is your county, right? And some kind of news like this is going to be all over the 5 o'clock news. You know, this is going to be all over the 10 o'clock news. I don't know. I don't watch local news. But it's going to be all over the local news. And you know who watches local news? Old people. And you know who gets on juries? Old people. So it's going to be hard for them. Well, and then young people, they might not watch the local news, but they'll watch TikTok or whatever it might be, and then they'll see about it. So the 3 weeks is not because of the complexity of the evidence or anything like that. It is simply because of the complexity of finding a jury who doesn't know anything about this after it's been all over the news for 4 years. It's going to be kind of tough. It is. So will the jury finding take 10 months like it did in the Young Thug YSL Riho trial? Hell no. Not with this judge. This judge runs his courtroom. The jury will probably take about a week to find, tops. And then they'll get right into it. Hopefully, on the 9th, we're discussing opening statements. Closing arguments, opening statements. All right, well, thank you again for joining me. All of those who have been following along, I appreciate it. Thank you for your likes and your subscribes. Thank you for everything, and we will see you on the 2nd.